All right, welcome to the Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs. I am here. This is an exciting podcast for me. It's St. Louis Film Talk. We got Vickie-doerr here, folks. Lindsay Harmon's here. Shemaine Barbati and my buddy Mike Ketcher. So we'll just kind of go around, just introduce. How did you guys find the love of film? What got you into film?
Oh my goodness. I have always, and I know it sounds really cliche to say since I was a little girl, I've always loved movies, and I always thought I want to do that. I want to be in a movie. And so as a teenager, I started really getting into writing, and I know English lit is not everybody's favorite, in their cup of tea, but it was mine. And so as a writer, I was really encouraged in high school that I had a gift of writing by a teacher. Her name was Mrs. Cheryl.
Did you write short stories, or were you writing screenplays?
I wrote short stories. And then I guess, I just started just really thinking about how, because I wrote a lot of plays too. My husband and I were in ministry for a while, so I wrote a lot of plays and musicals and things. And then I guess I just started thinking about how cool it would be to actually get back to the original dream and to actually watch my stories come to life on a screen. And as an actress, I just always, when I would watch people, because Meg Ryan is like one of my favorites, and I always thought to myself, I could do that. I know I could do that. So,
yeah. Lindsay, how did was there a certain moment when you went to do film acting? I known you since high school, by the way.
Oh, no, yeah, I know.
We went to high school.
Yes, we did.
We had a class together.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were in the film back then.
And I like that the first time you saw me after so many years, you're like, we had a class together, right?
Yeah, I did.
It's like, yes, I do remember you.
But back in high school, I was making little films with like a VHS camera. Were you doing film and stuff when you were in high school, or when did you start getting into acting?
No, I didn't do any kind of film. I did our school's radio cast in the morning.
Oh, you did?
Cool.
Yeah. I don't remember that. Cool. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did that, but I didn't do any kind of film. My mom would force me to do theatrical plays because she wanted to be in them and wanted my brother to be in them. So by default, I ended up being like a pirate in Peter Pan for my very first performance ever. And I had I had 3 words. I had to say "Jukes is dead." That was my big line in the whole thing.
Were you nervous all the way up to that line? Once that line?
No, because it was just kind of chaos. I mean, there's people dancing around, and I'm not a dancer, and they made me do all these things that I'm just uncomfortable with, and I did it till my mom was kind of done with it, and then I was good and moved on to other things. So wasn't big in the theater part, but younger, you're always like, oh, I want to be a model, and I did a lot of runway shows and stuff in St. Louis, and I was like, this really isn't my thing either. So it took me a little while to figure out that film and acting and the creativity behind it is more my thing.
What was the first local film that you were in? Do you remember the role?
The first local one?
Yeah.
I had done several music videos and things like that. The very first thing I did was the commercial. It was called the C Pen. And I had to sit there and pretend there was a dancing baby on the table.
Oh, okay.
We were 16, and we had to sit there and act like we were dancing with the dancing baby. It was
Can we find this on YouTube? Let me see if I can look this up. No,
it'd be terrible. But I think the first actual short film was with Richard Hamilton.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
we could make a whole podcast about him. Yeah,
right. So he was doing comedies at the time, and they were looking for a news anchor. And I had studied meteorology, and I was like, oh, I can do a news anchor, not understanding what the show was or anything. I was just like, news anchor, I'll go. Well, it was a comedic sketch.
Yeah, I've been in the basement. I think I was on it too at one point.
So I think that was one of the first things I did locally here.
Yeah. How about you, Shemaine? We kind of talked about this.
The first film was when I was 16, and I was an extra. My brother was actually in the film, and it was about a werewolf, and I was a extra it was a party at somebody's house, and I was extra. So that was my first film.
Okay. And Mike,
yes,
you got a really long resume because you're so good. That's the reason. What was your first film?
Good at padding my resume. You mean.
Yeah.
My first film role. I don't know if I should tell you. Because, I've never said this publicly, but it was a porn film.
I was gonna say that.
And then I didn't do a sex scene. I wasn't in a sex. I didn't take my clothes off. But there was a party scene, and I was an extra in it. I'm not going to say the name of it. So.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
You know what I just thought of?
Yeah.
Really funny. In like 98, 99, my first big film I did was The Informant.
Uh-huh.
And Mike casted me for it.
That's right. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, I was
He
the girl
actually
in
casted
the...
me. That was when I first met him that he cast me
Yeah,
for it.
at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of interesting because, like, all you guys, I know each of you individually, but you've all worked with each other, right? You've worked with Mike before, and you worked with Lindsay, and you've done casting for, I guess you've casted Shemaine and Lindsay and stuff. And
And
talk
Vickie,
about
too.
talk about some projects that you guys all worked on together.
Oh, Shemaine and I worked on the Steve Edison videos,
for
which
years.
were
Yeah.
and
But I actually knew you before then, actually.
right,
too.
yeah, we worked in, I mean, there was Webster student films and little indie productions, and it's even hard to remember. I'm getting older and my memory is fading a little bit.
Like that's happened to me as well. So the films you guys worked on, have you worked on horror films, comedy, drama, and is there ones that you prefer over the other? It seems like St. Louis is a huge horror film
horror
community. Yeah, it seems like a lot of horror movies come out of St. Louis.
I've only worked on one horror film. It's a slasher film as well. And the only reason I did it was because someone really close to me said, if you ever get a chance to do a horror film, do it because people love them. And because I personally don't watch horror films. But I had so much fun. It was James Tweedy's film, Float Trip. And I had a lot of fun working on that. I played the seediest character I have ever played. And she was fun. I mean, it was so fun just to step into her skin and just be a total, if I could say that.
Yeah, you can say bitch.
Bitch.
Yeah.
And just, and just be that character that, she's just dark. She's dark. And so that was my one and only super dark.
Have you done comedy though? Have you done?
I did comedy. I did a film called Little Did He Know. I hated my role in that. It's a great film, but I don't like my role in it. It was my very, very first comedy role. And honestly, my last.
Yeah.
They say that, it's easier for a comedic actor to step into drama than it is for a dramatic actor to step into comedy. And I believe that 100%.
Do you feel that way, Shemaine?
I think comedy's hard.
Is it hard to do the comedy over the drama?
I feel like what she's saying is true, but I actually like comedy more than I like drama.
You like comedy better?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like that probably what she said is true. Like it's easier for a comedian to do drama than drama. Yeah, I feel that statement is very true. But I like comedy more than I like drama now. But I did so many dramas that like it was refreshing to do comedy skits and that.
How would you, Lindsay? Do you like the comedy? Or are you more kind of dramatic kind of? See, I've seen you I was watching you in The Pack the other day, and you're doing action. So is it fun doing the action scenes, or is that tougher than doing some of the acting? I
like fighting.
You like fighting?
Yeah.
Okay.
So really any film that is looking for somebody to do fight choreography, I sign up right away and try to audition for it.
What's some action movies that you've been in? You've been in a lot.
Well, not a lot, but a little bit. So I did the stuff for The Pact, which was more just like hands-on. I did a very, very short knife slasher scene for David Kirkman's film Hardware that just came out.
Yeah.
James Dean has Maniac Nun coming out, and I'm a sword-fighting nun.
I know. I've seen pictures. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see it.
It's going to be a very entertaining film. Very action-packed.
He's really out there, boy.
I had been practicing for a Star Wars film for a while that got put on hold, which I just heard is slowly gaining momentum again to get back to that.
Oh, man.
Like a tribute kind of thing?
The Battle of the
Hologrons.
Hologrons or something. Yeah.
What about Anna?
So
Carlos is doing that, yeah.
Was Anna? Was that?
I mean...
I don't know.
Anna was more of just me biting and killing. I was a vampire, so it was more of like a lot of blood and biting people and stuff like that.
Very aggressive.
I have what's referred to as a resting bitch face. So I do not do well in a lot of things where you need like the cutesy girl next door. I am definitely the killer, the mean character. I'd make a good like lawyer cop, you know, something very businessy, but I'm never cast as something.
But can I say something?
That's sweet.
Yes, yeah.
I took her completely out of her comfort zone in both my films, and she's not any of those things. She's a very compassionate officer. And
Yes. She
and
takes care of,
Sophie's very loving.
Right.
she takes care of dogs for a living, so
Right.
yeah, she's very compassionate.
But I mean, on screen, out of character, she's not either any of those things.
On screen, I can be like my inner Lindsay.
Right.
Everybody
Same
loves
way.
animals. Is not either, so.
Right.
Mike, so same question to you. Do you do comedy? It seems like a lot of stuff that you play that I've seen you is more like really character actor.
Yeah,
character
it's
acting.
more and more character roles. Sometimes they can be comedic, sometimes dramatic. But I would say that I like either comedy or I like playing just a terrible person, you know.
I think everybody on this table likes playing a terrible person. How do you guys prepare for the Nun? How do you prepare for a role? Do you guys do research? Do you watch other movies and kind of get influence off watching other kind of movies similar to what you're going to play? Did
you want her to answer?
Anybody wants to go?
Well, based on that particular thing, it's not what you expect like a normal nun to be.
Okay.
So there was not much.
You didn't go to church at all and do some research?
No, we filmed in a church down in
okay.
Arcadia,
Did you wear a
Missouri.
rosary?
But it's an exploitation film, so it's definitely not your average like I'm a nun film.
Right.
You know, so there was not much preparation. After he explained the role to me, I was like, oh, okay, like I'll just memorize my lines and that just show up and he'll tell me the rest of what to do. Right. Most of the rehearsal came with the sword fighting. We did that for a couple months just to make sure nobody would get hurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vickie, how do you prepare for a role?
I do a lot of backstory on my characters, and find out the most I can about a character, and especially because I'm a dramatic actor. I do mostly drama. It's pretty much what I do, and I love that. I love that part and of this industry, and if I have. If I'm having to play someone who is, that is not a nice person, it's really just a really bitchy role. I have certain people that I just really like to just channel. I just absorb them, and just watch and just, and then
people
just make it my own. Just, like people that I'm more a fan of.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, and then I just, and I don't try to copy them. I try to kind of tap into that mindset. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
How do you?
I would say I do a lot of what Vickie does. I kind of I'm not mimic other people, but just kind of sort of take the essence of what I think their character is and incorporate it into my own interpretation of the character. But I don't do a lot of preparation. I just learn my lines and I go out there, and if a lot of times I've just got one or two lines, so it's like, how do you prepare for that? You just know your lines, and then you do it the best way you know how, and then the director, if they like it, they don't say anything, and if they don't like it, they tell you to change it. So make adjustments.
Do you read through the whole entire script, even if you just have the first act?
If I have the script, I do. Sometimes, you're just given the lines, and that's all you have to go on, and or your scene maybe. And if I have the whole script, I'll read it. I'd like to read it, but oftentimes you don't have that luxury.
Okay. And you talk a little bit about you direct. So when did you start directing your own films?
My first film that I directed was it premiered 2016, which was At All Cost.
Okay.
Which was a drama.
It was drama.
It was a drama.
And what was it about?
And I actually played the lead in that as well. That was a challenge.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do, the directing and do.
I had an assistant director as well.
Okay.
So, and but it was about a man and woman who, in family, you know, they had one child, lost their one and only son freshman year on homecoming night to an accident. And the grief, because they grieved differently, the grief actually just really separated them, even though they really loved each other. Mm-hmm. So it was a painful breakup. It was just that kind of a thing. And then a year or so later, they get an opportunity, or she gets an opportunity to be a mother again, but it just doesn't end very well, and that's all I'm going to tell you. Okay. It's on. Can I tell you where it's playing? You can watch it for free.
Yeah.
Greenlitgo.com.
What kind of site is that? Do they much independent film?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. St. Louis Independent Films, I believe, or like around Missouri. Isn't it Missouri?
You say
I don't know if it's
greenlitgo.com. I'm not sure if it's limited or not, but I opted to put it on there for free so that people could watch it because I wanted them to see my work.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. But it went to the festival.
It went to festivals as well. Mm-hmm.
Is it hard being the director and acting in a main role like that?
It is. It's very challenging, but I'm going to have the opportunity to do it for 2 more projects I'm writing because I love it. Yeah. Because it's the kind of thing. Okay, I'm 61, so it's the kind of thing that you get a certain age in this industry, not necessarily as a man, but as a woman. Mm-hmm. Sorry to say, and it's like if you're not under the age of 40, it's like And so I actually just posted this on Facebook. I said, wow, I'm so excited. I'm writing this project that is about this man and woman who are in their 60s. And have really, really different lives and meet up, And I said, so it's exciting for me to be able to write that story because she's really out there. She's just like real, like free-spirited hippie type, person, never got out of the 60s. And so it's that kind of thing that I'm excited to write and cast a film that doesn't have all 30-year-olds in it. No offense, and because I feel like that's all we see in St. Louis. That's all we see a lot of times in the other. So in Hollywood.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. I get so frustrated about that because I'm older too.
Oh, I would not know that.
Pull the mic to you.
And I feel like it is exactly what you said. Like men can have a career till they're 90, but women, if you're not, under the age of 40, you don't see the light of day sometimes.
Right. It's very difficult.
Yeah, it's kind of double standards.
What are some of your pet peeves about just some of the roles that you get? You were talking.
Oh, that I was talking about before.
Yeah, it's me here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like a challenge, so I like my characters, to have a story and not somebody's wife or somebody's girlfriend or somebody, you know what I mean? Like, I like a gritty role and a challenge, and I just feel like sometimes it's hard being a woman to get those roles that are, really awesome and tell the story, and sometimes you're just stuck being a supporting actress.
Before this, we'll go around the table on this. Before you take a role, do you guys research the filmmaker and kind of know what before? Have you gotten in a situation? Don't say names here.
I don't do that.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do that.
But have you gotten in a situation where somebody went to cast you for a part, but you kind of maybe looked at their work and maybe thought, well, maybe this isn't the right type of thing I want to do. Anybody want to jump in?
You want to jump in? I see your eyes going.
That's just me all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have an interesting like situation that occurred, and obviously I won't say his name.
Yeah.
But someone kept saying they had this audition for a film. It sounded interesting, so I said I wanted to audition for it. And I've done a few like bigger things in Chicago, like nothing big, but like been on some fun sets, you know.
Yeah.
So I've got some fun credits behind my name. I'm by no means like anything, you know. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, well, but I'm not even good enough to have you on my set." I'm like, "Okay, so if you don't want me on it, that's fine. I'm just putting in my audition. Like, if you don't want to use me," he's like, "Well, I mean, you're just too good. You're just too good to be on it." Like, because they were just like a new, and I was like, "Okay, well, thanks, I guess." but I don't. But okay, I'm like, so if you really think I'm that good, then let me help you get your work out there, you know, because it again was like a fun concept,
Right?
And it was the strangest conversation because it was like he was complimenting me, but like dissing me like the whole time too. And I was like, just so you know, this is not how you should interact with anyone in the future. I was like, thank you for your time, you know. But I mean, you have to think of like it's your work and your time and everything that you put into it. And if the product that's coming out of it is not going to be good, or if they're going to show you in a bad light, you know, that type of thing. So, I mean, I always look at their work, you know, ahead of time, and even just kind of look at a little bit of like their social media and stuff and just see like what kind of things are they doing, you know, because they're like, oh, this one I'm sure it's great, it's like rated PG, and the rest of them are like almost past R, and you're like, wait, so is this going to morph? Is this going to change into something else?
Yeah, right.
You know, so I'm careful about that kind of stuff.
Anybody else? Are you guys ever worried that, like, let's say it's a first-time filmmaker and he's like, I got my iPhone, here's my, I'm going to film a movie. Like, are you guys worried about that type of work, doing stuff like that that's kind of like really low end at this point after all the stuff you've guys done, or is it kind of like, you know?
I mean, I'll jump in there. I don't ever do a role that I don't see the whole script. My coach taught me that day one. So I don't do that. And it's just something that makes me feel more comfortable, because I have had people call me in for auditions that I just said, I'm sorry, you know, if we can change this, and this, if you're willing to, you know, adjust those things, then yes, I can do that. Otherwise, you know, then I'm sorry, it's just crossing a line that I'm just not comfortable with. And so I've had, and it was so funny because one of them was my friend. And I said, "What are you thinking?" I'm like, "I'm not doing this." I was like, "No."
They're like, "You're my friend, though."
Right. It's like, "Oh," I said, "I just don't waste your time. I'm not auditioning for that." And so I just didn't do it. That was a couple of years ago, but I always ask to see the full script. And so I also I do that, where, like you said, you look at their social media. I look and see, you know, I do that also if I have people, if I put something out there for editing, they tell me, to me it's no different. If I'm going to work for them, I need to know about the person that's putting this film out. Just like if I want an editor, I'm going to research that editor or that person that, you know, does sound. You know, I'm gonna say, hey, because, you know, if I have somebody that tells me, oh yeah, I'm really fast at ADR and blah blah blah, and I'm like, can I see your work, you know? And so then when I listen to their work and it sounds really hollow, I'm like, yeah, I can't use that person, you know, because I don't want my film to sound hollow, you know. Right. And so to me, it's no different as an actress for us to, or actor, correct terminology, to go in and say, you know, hey, you know, could I see the whole script? And so it's, you know, I've never had them tell me no. So have you had them tell you no if you asked to see the whole script?
Yeah, there's been circumstances.
Oh, okay.
Like,
see, I've never had them tell me no.
I mean, I think it just kind of depends on the set and like what your role is and how like important you are, because if you're not very important, then I don't think you see like the whole thing. If you're just in there for literally like you come in and say your 2 lines and leave, I don't think they like show you all it.
Well, in our, like my films, I don't you know, like I don't send out my whole script to people, but I've never had anyone ask me for the whole script. But what I usually do is I usually give a pretty good synopsis of the character and let them know exactly what they're getting into. So
yeah, which is
is that fair?
Yeah.
To say?
Most definitely.
So
definitely.
she's in 2 of my films. That's why I'm saying that.
Right.
I'm saying, is that fair? Tell me.
Yeah, is she doing a good job over here? She's doing a good job.
Do I feel validated?
Do you guys work on last? I know Webster and Lindenwood have great film students and great films, and I know you've worked on. Have you worked on some films, student films?
I've worked on a lot of student films. Yeah.
Is there a preference from that to like I guess somebody that's kind of like graduated and doing like raising the money themselves, independent film?
I don't do student films anymore, and the reason isn't that I have anything against it. The reason is that they never send me a copy. If they would send me a copy, and they tell you they're going to, but I've had so many instances where you come in and you work hard and you do a good job, and then you never get a copy, and you email the director, oh, I'll send it to you. Mm-hmm. And then you don't get it, so you call, oh, I'll send that to you. And you still don't get it, and eventually you just stop calling. So that's the only reason I don't do student films, is that I just, they're just, I think they need some professional experience under their belt just so that they're more thoughtful about things, especially if they're not paying somebody. You've got to do something. And I say this for the student filmmakers that may be out there watching this, that they need to take care of the people that work for them, especially for free.
I agree.
And send Mike his films. Send them his films.
Yeah, right.
I think that's my biggest pet peeve is when I've acted in other people's stuff and I'm guilty because working on a project that never sees the light of day. And Shemaine can talk about this.
Will you send me a copy of this?
I'm going to send you Mike, you're going to be the first one to get a copy of this. So
I got a copy of the last one you did. So that was
See,
great.
I got a good track
I know
record
you're
over here with
reliable.
Mike. What's some of your guys' pet peeves of just the things working on an independent film set?
Just films that don't happen.
Films
I've been cast for like 20 films that don't happen.
Don't have that you went and like
Really cool roles.
Yeah.
really awesome things I look forward to.
Or they shoot
they
the
just-
film.
yeah.
And they
Or
just
they
don't
shoot
have-
the film and they don't finish it.
Yeah. Were you in Backstabbed?
No.
Okay. That's my
But-
biggest pet peeve. Right
Yeah,
there.
and that happens a lot. And I don't know, they shoot the film and they don't like it, or maybe the fun is in shooting it, not in editing it and trying to just get distribution and all the hard stuff. But for whatever reason, a lot of people don't finish their films, and they should at least finish them for the sake of the people who put their time into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
I hate not to interrupt you, but
Oh no, go ahead.
because as a filmmaker, I will say, because I'm that person that works completely out of her pocket. So because I've tried the Kickstarters, I tried that, there's all this stuff. So Lindsay knows, and with I know with Begin Again, one of my films that's in post, we have had such nightmare experiences since the day we wrapped. And we'll give it to one. I had one editor that had my film, and I won't say his name. He had my film for a year and a half, and I never got a rough copy from him. Never. I still paid him a portion of what I owed him, because I felt like, I wasn't going to put make my name look bad because he wasn't credible. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I went ahead and did what I needed to do there. And I mean, I honestly, we have been through 3 editors, and I'm so happy to have the editor. I'm thankful to have the editor that we have now. And because he seems so reputable and so, so on it. And then, and also the editor that's editing Broken Window, he's he's just on it. And we just secured our composer for that. But the thing that surprised me as a filmmaker, because I didn't know this going in, I didn't know that people didn't finish their films. I had no idea. And because I had not worked for anyone as an actress who didn't finish their film. And then when I had my red carpet premiere for At All Cost, I can remember Bill Finkbeiner going down. No, it wasn't Bill. It was Keith. what's Keith's last name?
Deserve
Ruck.
it.
Keith Ruck.
Okay.
It was Keith Ruck. He played an officer in At All Costs. And I remembered they asked him on the red carpet, was this his first film? And he said, I've been in several films. This is the first film that I have seen out of all my work that has been finished. Everybody else abandons their project. And I will say, I'm a diehard. It may take me a little bit. I may struggle like hell, but we're getting that sucker out there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, I never, and then as an actress, then I also started having people that not only didn't finish, the production, but I couldn't even get a hold of them. They disappeared off the face of the earth, 2 of them. And I thought, what happened to these people, And I've had a big filmmaker that has been so hard, has promised me the last 2 years, and I won't say his name, to get my footage for my reel, and I still can't get it.
Wow.
We'll get it to you. We'll get it.
Well, if they get it out on DVD, at least maybe you can buy the DVD.
Yeah, it's not.
I've had to do on a couple of
occasions. It's not on DVD.
Yeah.
They had their premiere. It's in festivals, and but no, we've never gotten our footage. We've gotten IMDb credit for it, but not our footage for our reels. So, and I know I tell my actors, you won't get your footage until the movie's finished and we've got it out there. Because I don't want my footage all over the place and people seeing it without. You understand that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that hurts you as well as it does us.
Right.
Shemaine, do you have any pet peeves that you would like to share at the table here?
Oh.
We only have a half hour.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, like the one I was talking about was a feature film. We filmed the entire film, had awesome locations, awesome actors, everything, and I never saw it. Oh. And the director said that the whole thing, the audio was bad, and so it was never finished, never completed. And it was months and months of work. Just frustrating.
Have you guys ever been on a set that like maybe there's chirping bugs, or that the audio is not going to be good, and you kind of but it's not your place to say something, maybe like, oh, this is kind of dark down here, you sure we're gonna be able to see my face here? Have you guys ever been in that situation that's kind of like you've been kind of like, well, I don't know if this is gonna work, but you don't want to step the bounds because it's not your place to say anything. Has that ever happened to you guys?
Oh, yeah.
I would say yeah.
Yeah.
I usually mention it to somebody on set who is closer to the director and be like, God, this wind is really going to show up in this. And then they reiterate it and get the credit, but we take care of the issue. Yeah. So I just find a way to manipulate the situation around to get to that right person.
To me, I think,
Right.
I will say she helped me out. She helped me out and see if you remember
I'm
this.
very picky. Like, I notice every single thing.
She did notice.
Something's missing on a table. If somebody wears something different. Like, I know every little detail. Stuff.
Do you remember on Broken Window, our one of our actors kept saying the character's name was Mrs. Waters, and he kept saying Mrs. Walters, but I was so focused on it. Was my first time being cinematographer on my project, so. It was like I was so into watching his performance and everything. I was not catching, and then she says to me, he keeps saying Walters. And I was
I can say that to her because I know Vickie, so I'm comfortable telling her, like, hey, your whole film's going to be messed up because you keep saying Walters.
Yeah, because I was like, no.
But I mean, he kept doing it.
Oh, yeah, I
basically just kind of nudged him every time and was like, no.
It would have been something that would have probably been easy to fix with ADR because it's so close. Yeah. But it's kind of nice that we actually got him saying Waters.
I guess I'm not actually
thank you so much.
too shy about it because I'm thinking, like, I did that whole first season of Empire, and I was at the front desk, and they had, like, a plant and, like, different things at the front desk. And they shoot a scene, and I go, dude, there was a plant here. Like, you're just going to look around and be like, the audience doesn't notice. I go, I notice every time.
Right.
There was a plant here, and this is what it looked like. Yeah. So I guess I do tell people that they didn't care. They were like, you're an extra.
I'm sure you've been in this situation.
Oh yeah. And I do try to sometimes mention things, especially if they seem to be struggling with something, and I know what the answer is. I mean, I was on a set once where they had a lot of, this was for an industrial, and a lot of last minute script changes, and you know, the actors, it's hard for an actor to, you know, just, especially if it's a lot of script, and so they were having trouble with that, and I said, like, well, why don't you just put the lines on the wall, tape them to the wall, and we can see them and read them, and oh, okay. And then nobody thought of that, you know, but sometimes it's simple things, and sometimes it's like one time a boom operator was having trouble, and this was a student film, trying to put the boom into position, and I said, well, you know, why don't you just lay down on the ground and do it? And oh, that worked, you know. It wasn't in the shot or anything, and it was and it's just that I had seen that type of thing before on sets, so I knew that was a solution to that problem. But so it's little things like that. The only thing I don't do is I don't direct other actors.
I've had people try to do that.
Talk about that stuff. How do you guys like to rehearse right before a scene and do the blocking, or is it? Because I know Shemaine will probably chime in here. Sometimes when people do too much improv, it can throw me off on lines, and I'm kind of like, I don't mind if a couple of people riff a couple of lines here and there, as long as we keep, you know, to the outline of the story or whatever, or the scene. But does that ever happen to you? Is like people try to direct you or tell you other actors?
They do. But I'm usually nice about it. But I always tell them, you know, I'm prepared. I'm ready to go.
How are you nice?
I just tell them, you know, I'm prepared. I'm ready to go. Hey,
Vickie, can you say this line like this for me?
If it's not the director, then I'll just tell him. I'll say, no, I'm prepared. I'm ready to go. When he says go, I'm go.
Okay.
You know, because when I have just I've not been trained to get on set and rehearse lines with him. I've been trained to walk on, bam, do my job, deliver a performance, and go home. Mm-hmm. You know, that's how I was trained.
All right.
So, I mean, if people want me to, but I won't let them direct me as to how to say my line.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm very guarded with my character. I know who my character is when I walk on that set. So unless the director tells me he's not seeing what he wants to see through the camera.
Right.
Keep your little ass over there. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty bold.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. Because don't you guard your character?
Yeah, I mean, I usually am like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just like, you know, like
in those eyes.
Doing that to me that I can think of.
Yeah, I've had that done to me.
But I've had people improv. I'm like, okay, what's the line?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like,
where are we going?
Because I'm looking for certain words. That's my cue.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't say any of the words, and I'm like, okay, I'm lost. Yeah. Like, and they're riffing, and I'm like, okay, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And some directors will tell you, you know, I don't care if the lines are
word perfect,
word for word,
mm-hmm.
and so you kind of. I still try to stick to the script,
right?
Right.
And you know, if other people want to deviate, I'll try to, you know, adapt to it. But I usually just, if I'm given a script, I like to stick to that.
Yeah, me too.
The filmmakers appreciate that too.
Once in a while, you'll see something. Hey, this doesn't sound right, and you can ask the director, "Can I change this or something?" And usually they're accommodating to that.
Or if it doesn't roll off the tongue as easily because of the way it's written.
That's why you have a writer. They want their, you know. And
of course, it's different with film and commercials. With film, you know, you maybe have a little leeway, but commercials, the script has to be the way it's written.
Right.
Same with industrials. Otherwise, you know, there's a half a dozen people or a dozen people that are approving these scripts, and so you can't really deviate from the script.
Yeah. Right. My next question. Does anybody else have a comment they want to add or a question for the round table here?
I just liked what he said, as long as it doesn't change the, you know, if something, you know, I don't think any filmmaker minds if it's something, you know, that's a little bit different, but when you start saying things and twisting them and turning them around and making your own story out of it, that's where the problem lies.
Right.
You know,
it's one thing if you change like a word or two, but like if you're changing the whole thing, and that's changing the story, you know?
Right. Well, and it can take the focus off of the person that the focus is supposed to be on and put it on you.
Right.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. This is who is supposed to in this scene be the,
which is why people do it.
you know, right, exactly. And so
to them when
yeah,
it's not supposed to be
so
on
you
the-
can't do
Steelers.
Yeah. That's my
joking.
biggest, I think, beef when I'm directing something is people trying to upstage or steal the scene when it's not really their character for the storyline for that scene. It's
Right.
not their character's part
Right.
right there. And so,
Right.
you know, and so sometimes that happens a lot. Is it tough working with different types of people though? They have different type of acting styles. Have you ran into that where people are more like come from a comedy background or come from a different type of training than you?
I don't think it's necessarily hard to work with them because I've worked with all kinds of people. A thing that I don't find that I appreciate, I don't like, and this is just me because I know that on a film set time is money, and I don't like. I mean, I like to have fun with it, but I don't like people to waste my time and waste the other actor's time. You know, by never knowing when to stop. You know, there's a certain moment when you say quiet on the set, there actually needs to be quiet on the set,
right.
and we're ready to roll. You know, as opposed to telling 3 more jokes before we can actually say action.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that more gets to me, and it doesn't really happen on my sets. I don't really think because people know I don't really like that. But I've worked on sets where it does happen, and I think, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, because we're close to the ending of the night. You're tired. You've been on some of these. You've been on set for 14, 15 hours.
Wow.
And so you're beat, and you're just like, oh my gosh, just stop. Because you want to rap. And you can, and at that point you can see it in the DP's face, you can see it in the director's face, and so it's a lot of times, I hate to say it's a lot of times more the actors than it is actually the crew, and you can just see because they're tired. They've been lugging all this film equipment around and changing all these sets, so they're beat. You think you're tired, they're more tired, and so so that and I see that frustration. And so that, that's why it bothers me, because I guess because I feel like, that we need to respect their, their position and know that it's fun to be there, and it's fun. Yes, everybody wants to have fun, but please don't waste our time.
One thing I'll say, and I think not to contradict you because I'm not, but I think I see part of my job as an actor is when I'm on set to maybe kind of lighten things up a little bit, especially if things are tense or, people are, just to, throw in a little joke or something here or there, some kind of one-liner or something, just to lighten the atmosphere up. I think, I think just that helps. And when it's appropriate and it fits, I try to do that.
Yeah.
Right. But not bring your stand-up routine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, that's why I try to do, even with the podcast or even when I direct, I try to be kind of goofy, so it kind of makes the tension and then bring the energy up and I'm trying to capture that magic in the bottle where it's like that everybody's energy is up and we can capture it on film. That's kind of like my way process of doing it.
Well, I think too, though, when you're because you guys have done drama and you've done drama, I know. When you have a really intense character, I mean, I played some really freaking intense characters. I just did a lady with dementia, and when you've got a bunch of horsing around going, do you know how hard it is to keep yourself just encapsulated into that character? And so it's you just need that isolation. Usually, that's why usually if I have a character like that, I'm like, I will be out here. Come get me when you need me. I've got my earbuds in, and I'm not in your world anymore.
And you have to respect the other actors. Everybody's got their different ways of doing processing it. And if somebody's sitting off to the side, and they're they want to be alone, and you just kind of read that body language or whatever. And you stay away from them and let them do their thing.
Right.
Any other questions at the table? One thing I do is when I direct is I'm sure when you were talking about money, I always try to feed the actors and then try to. At least if it's the wardrobe that they don't have, I make sure I pay for it and help them get it. But is that like a pet peeve of anybody at this table that's that you work on things that like all of a sudden like, is there water here? And they're like, no, there's the faucet here. I have some crackers. You guys want some crackers? Or is that ever?
I just had that happen out in the middle of nowhere. We had a set that we were literally in the middle of nowhere working off generators, and I mean, we'd been there for a long time, and I said, are there any water bottles? Oh, we just used the last one. I'm just like, oh my God, we had like 3 hours to go. And I was like, what?
Like, I'm thirsty.
I know. Right. I was like, yeah, well, we didn't have water. So
it gets rough when you're on a set for hours and hours and there's nothing to eat or drink. Crazy. And you don't have time to go get anything.
Yeah.
What's the toughest filming environment? We'll go around the table here that you've ever been in. Toughest filming, it could be the rain, weather. It could be you're out in the middle of nowhere. What was the toughest like filming environment you've ever been in? I'm sure you guys might have the same movie over here. I'm thinking. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Shemay. Go ahead. You can.
I was in a feature, and I had to deal with bugs, heat, rain, cold. Pretty much every element.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I've thought of that one, but no, I would say that one really tough one is that this was in a movie called The Tomb, and it was the last night of shooting. We were shooting in a cemetery, and this was in December, and the wind started to blow, and rain started coming in, and we had to get this final scene in, and it was just everybody was rushing around, and people were trying to stay dry, stay out of the rain, and the wind was blowing stuff around, and so that was probably the worst, especially since it was the last. We had to get that scene in. There was no way not to.
I think mine was when I did Allegiant. It's part of the Divergent series. Mm-hmm. If you're familiar with it at all.
Yeah, I heard of it, yeah.
So I was in the Factionless Army, and you wear boots and leather and pants and layers. So I had like a long sleeve tie-dye shirt with a leather corset and these big pants and army boots, and I had multiple guns and everything, and it was like over 100 degrees in Atlanta.
God. I was going to say Atlanta. I knew it was Atlanta.
And we were in the sun because it was a big war scene with a bunch of people, and it was one of those 14, 16-hour days out in the sun in Atlanta.
Oh, man.
They wanted us, like, well, the sweatier you get, the better it looks because you've been fighting, So they didn't even film. They made us just stand in the sun so everybody would get hot and sweaty. And they wouldn't even let you put your hair up because they're like, that's not the character. So all the girls had to have their hair down, and they put some braids in and stuff. So your hair is down. You had multiple layers on. And we had people passing out on our set. And we had heard about other sets with people passing out. And then during the war scene, they were putting off color smoke bombs. So we're like running, and these powder bombs are just like exploding and sticking to you. So everybody had like orange all over them from running through these bombs that were being dropped by the aircraft and stuff.
You don't know what's in those smoke.
You can't breathe in it.
Teeth.
You can't breathe in it. But that was probably the worst, just because it was so hot. It was just so hot. Yeah.
I think she wins.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I think it was just kind of a creepy condition because I'm like you. I don't like bugs. I don't do well with bugs, and I inform them if a bug gets on me, you're gonna know it. I mean, and I had to walk barefoot in grass that was like up to my knees in a dress. And had to walk toward the woods, and I kept getting closer and closer and closer, and I kept thinking, oh my God, they better call cut, because I'm thinking snakes. I'm thinking because this was in the generator thing where there was no, and so when he called cut the first time, I told him, I said, I'm so glad you called cut. I said, because I'm going to tell you, I said, if you don't call cut before I get to those woods, I am not going in those woods with no shoes on. It's not going to happen. And so he's like, "Oh no, we're not going to make you." And so I was like, "Okay." So, but yes, bugs and just flying everywhere, and you got I don't like that stuff.
The gnats are the worst.
That's when you just keep saying, "Okay, I don't see it, I don't feel it, I don't see it, I don't feel it."
Yeah.
All right, so switching gears because it's all negative talk, folks. I always go positive. What's the best experience you've had, like a location that you filmed at? Maybe it was a different, a certain spot, and I don't know what's something that's really positive, like that something exciting. You're like, wow, I can't believe we're filming here and we're doing this in this location. And it's, because Lindsay sounds like she's been to Chicago, Atlanta. So has any of those experiences just like, wow, I can't believe I'm at this place filming here in this building, or has that ever?
I mean, I enjoy because they're all very different sets. But typically when I go to Chicago, it's at the studio, and you go in and you're basically walking past, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago, you're just basically walking past all the sets to get to your set. Right. There's not a whole lot of actual ambiance beyond the fact that you're in a humongous warehouse with sets. Yeah. Georgia's always outside, and it's always hot. I did the tiniest scene for Ozark a couple of weeks ago and went down there. It was the smallest scene ever. I got to see Jason Bateman. That was my goal, I guess. That was about it. Yeah, I got to see him. I was in the scene with him. But that was about it. And I did two in LA in the past year. And were they both? One was... See, a lot of them have been on sets and not actually.
But that has to be exciting. You're on the set.
Well, no, I mean, no, it's fun. But I like the challenge of having to be outside and things happening and adjusting to it and things. Yeah.
Did you have a line in the Ozarks?
No, unfortunately, no. I was supposed to be a little more involved character, and then this guy was sitting next to me. He's like, yeah, last minute, my friend's the director, and we booted some other actors out of their spots, and we took them.
Oh, no.
So we're, the featured ones now, and I was like...
Oh, that was me.
I was like, oh. and then when I was, waiting, and then oh, it was me. Okay. Oh. That's cool. It's all right.
Oh, man.
So did you have an agent that got you there?
No, I just did it myself. Yeah.
I saw my friend sent me a link that they were looking for extras, but...
Yeah, it was a law office, FBI.
For any of the other actors out here,
FBI.
Any of the other actors in St. Louis watch right now, how do you guys find your roles? I know me and Mike grew up on the STL Film Wire. I know Mike still uses it once in a while to promote the MCA, but how do you guys find the roles? Do you just through Facebook, or is there STL auditions? Is that still happening? Do they still have that? Do they still
it is. There's not very much on there though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Usually, if it is, it's 20s, and
I remember Craigslist. Don't go to the Craigslist.
No, I actually have found some good
Craigslist
stuff on Craigslist.
You did?
I would never think to look there. I don't know.
Not recently, but there hasn't been much going on recently. But you talked about I did the casting for The Informant. Well, the local casting. Well, I actually found that job on Craigslist. They were coming into town, and they were looking for extras. They had an ad for extras, and I said, "Well, I can cast the extras for you in St. Louis if you want." And so they hired me to do that. So
cool.
There's all kinds of things. You just got to be careful with Craigslist because there's a lot of scams on there. Yeah.
See what section you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
what section you're reading.
But I mean, if you learn to navigate it, and you can kind of spot the legit ones once in a while. But I find things on there that I usually don't see anywhere else for some reason. And I think a lot of the stuff has gravitated towards different Facebook groups, and there's probably at least a dozen local Facebook groups that are geared towards theater and film and so forth. So it's kind of getting on all of those and looking at them regularly, and then word of mouth is good too. Just I think the more you do, the more you will do. And if you're on a set with other people, whether you're an extra or whatever you are, you're talking to people and you're finding out what's going on. And I've I get a lot of jobs a lot of jobs just networking with people.
And just, I guess at this point, a lot of people know you, so word of mouth, working on this movie, kind of piggybacks to another movie. How do you find roles? Same way? Do you find just people you worked with that you can?
I've had people call me, and because I know when I did Umbra, when they contacted me about that, they said, "Oh, so and so recommended you," blah blah blah, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, I don't know who so and so is. I have no idea who that is. So I have no idea how that other person knew me. I don't know if he saw a film I was in. I don't know. So, but so I did a monologue for him. But I've done, from the Facebook groups, and also I've done a little bit of stuff off STL auditions, but I use Actors Access a lot. And I do have an agent as well, so I utilize both of those.
Is the agent here in St. Louis? What's the
Azalea?
Azalea, okay.
Mandy Morris.
Do anybody else use agencies? Shemaine, you used to.
I used to. Yeah. I haven't in a while. I think I'm gonna probably get back into it after I update my headshot. I was with Now Talent for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably go back to her. April.
Have you done the agent? Have you ever went that route or anything?
It's a situation.
The situation. Okay. That means okay.
I need an agent to apply for something, so I have an agent to apply for things as I need to.
Okay, gotcha.
We're not saying who the agent is, though?
I mean, I don't. I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah,
I think getting an agent is a good thing. I don't have one right at the moment, but that's. I think it's good to have one because you get exposed to stuff that you may not ordinarily be exposed to, including some paid jobs. Mm-hmm. I do think, and some people get agents in other nearby cities. It's kind of hard to do that, but because you need to be able to travel to auditions a lot. But a lot of auditions now are being done online too. So. Mm-hmm. But I think as many avenues as you can explore those avenues, because you never know where you're going to find something at.
Right.
And
yeah, I feel like in this area things are more commercial based. Agencies, you're usually going to get a commercial or a print ad than a film. I do have. Like when I was in Up in the Air and that kind of thing, I did have an agent then. So those are easier accessible when you have an agent, to be able to, of course, we haven't had a major film come through in quite a while, but it was helpful to have an agent because then they can get you in easier than if you try to do it on your own.
And that's a great digression question from Mike over here. So with the film tax credits, is that the reason why films don't come to St. Louis? Because she's right. I think the last one was Up in the Air, and Jesus, that was like 10 years ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah,
that's one reason, but I like to compare St. Louis with Kansas City because they, we're in the same state, right? So. Kansas City has a very dynamic film office and film commissioner there. If you go and look at their website, you can Google the St. Louis Film Office, and there actually is a St. Louis Film Office, but it's kind of a part-time person that works there and does other things for the Tourism Bureau, and you get one page that tells you very little about St. Louis, and it's got links to the Missouri Film Commission website, which is also not very good. But you go to the Kansas City Film Commission website, and they've got a crew database. They've got location pictures on there. Kansas City now has a 10% film tax rebate that goes up to about $75,000 per year that they can offer to independent filmmakers. So what Kansas City has done is the last few years is they've gone out and they've tried to find kind of what I would call the low-hanging fruit, the low-budget independent films, but that ones that have a budget, reality shows, and even commercials, and so they've gone out and tried to pull in some of these types of productions, and they're doing very well. They're doing a lot better than we are, and they, I think St. Louis has better locations. We're a bigger city. We have probably a bigger talent pool here, a bigger pool of crew members, but we're lagging behind Kansas City. And so I try to compare the two and see what's going on here. I think and it's just that we don't have much local promotion of the industry here, not just within the community, but also outside of the community to the broader world. And if somebody goes to the St. Louis Film Commission website and they see it, they're just going to, some filmmaker in LA or somewhere, they're just going to say, well, there's nothing in St. Louis for me. And they may look at Kansas City and they say, oh, Kansas City is the place to go. So on the plus side, there is somebody that's doing Mary Kay Sheets. She's doing putting together an organization called STL Filmworks, and I think it's stlfilmworks.com or .org. It might be .org, but it's she's trying to kind of promote St. Louis. She's got a long-term vision of what to do and how to do it. But so I'm not sure how much in the immediate future it will help. But I think she has this really nice vision of what she wants for St. Louis. So I would advise people to go and check out her website. Okay. And it's not just her, but I mean she's got a whole group of people behind her on that. Right. And
okay, for the last kind of round, we'll end here in 10 minutes. We'll go around with your favorite role that you've played, and then if you could pick a role that's a movie that's been made and that you could play that part, what would it be? I'll give you a moment to think about it. Let me see here. I'll go first. I probably like playing the Jake Thomas thing. I like playing the action star, and if I could play anything, I think it would be kind of some kind of superhero thing. Would be fun to do for me. It's kind of comical though, a little bit serious, a little comical. Would be ideal for me, I think. That I want to do.
Deadpool.
Like Deadpool, but here's the folks. I'm no Ryan Reynolds over here, guys. I'm just saying. If I was Ryan Reynolds, that's funny.
Deadpool. Love that.
First, we'll go around to favorite role you done.
I said this yesterday, but mine was a play. It was Lost in Yonkers, and I was the grandma, so she was a fun character to play. I have always said, I've always wanted to be in, an epic movie that, people don't get tired of watching, watch it over and over again. Oh. I like fantasy a lot, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. So maybe something in that kind of genre.
I think it's really hard to pick my favorite role because I've had a lot of very different ones. Good
answer.
That's
a good answer.
Because how do you pick a drama that I do for Vickie versus a horror that I do for somebody else versus?
How do you pick that?
How do you choose which one you like the best? Because I enjoy all the different types of characters, and I think that's part of why people enjoy acting is trying to embrace all the different characters. So I can't pick a certain one. As far as what I'd like to do, I'm always up for being an awesome villain. But I also would love to be in Jurassic Park. I love dinosaurs.
Jurassic Park would be awesome.
Yeah.
I like dinosaurs.
I think it would be fun to work with CGI. Yeah. Have you guys ever done anything that's CGI that you've worked with that had they did a CGI kind of a special effect that we're going to add that in later? You're talking to a talking mouse right now.
The dancing baby when I was 16.
Yeah. Wow, even back then. Yeah.
I mean, that's acting when you're nothing's there and you're
That would be fun though.
Yeah.
How about you, Mike? What's your favorite role you ever did?
I kind of don't. Most of my roles are kind of small roles, and so I it's not like I do these big, leading man type stuff. But I guess so I look at like films that I was in and favorite films, and one of my favorites was, and I just like the film, was made by a filmmaker in Columbia, Missouri. It was Song of the Dead, and it was a zombie musical. And
I've seen that. I've seen parts of that.
Yeah, and it's just it was just a fun set. It was a fun film to work on. The director was great. Everybody that we worked with was great. And it's just a good experience. So I kind of look at it at the total experience, not the role. But I guess if what I really used to like watching was martial arts films, and I would, if I had my life to live over again, I would have learned martial arts better, and maybe become Bruce Lee's replacement or something. I thought Bruce Lee was great, and so that would kind of be, I don't know, something that kind of a fantasy role, I guess.
I think James might do another Maniac Nun, like a third installment.
Yeah.
So he'll be looking for actors.
Might be looking for a priest.
I think I'm probably a little old for that role now.
I think we have any other questions we want to ask each other here at this round table. I'm going to pull up here is the St. Louis Filmworks website, folks. So go ahead and check that out, stlouisfilmworks.org. So you can see all the information here. So definitely get involved. But anybody else have anything at the table they want to talk about?
Did you want to know my role?
Yes.
My favorite role? He didn't even ask me.
I know.
Oh, I thought you answered. I'm sorry. Oh, what a horrible! Gosh, what a horrible host this guy is. I apologize.
Thelma and Louise. I'd love to do a role like that. Or I always loved Susan Sarandon in Stepmom. That's one of my favorite movies. I'd love to do a role like that. And but I don't know. My favorite thing that I've done. I was in actually a student film. Fernanda Mariana was the director and writer, and it was called Are You Anywhere? And that has always been my favorite role, and I get so much work off of that clip.
Wow.
Nice.
So, yeah, student film for Lindsay.
So what was the character?
I played a mother of a daughter who was a drug addict.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And all right, well, Mike, I'm going to pull up your Facebook page. This is how you get hold of Mike Ketcher here. Just tell us what you've been working on, or what you got coming out, or any projects you in the works.
Things are kind of boring right now. Nobody's making any films. I worked on had a scene in a horror film. This was a couple years ago, and it still isn't out yet. So I don't know what's happening there. But I've been doing my regular stuff, which is I do improvisational role play training. For police, and that's one of my regular gigs. So, and I've also done similar work for medical students and so forth. So I have a lot of my regular stuff going on that I'm doing.
Shemaine, what do you have going on?
I have a web series, When Night Comes.
By Drew Ketcher.
I'm not really sure when it's coming out exactly yet. Hopefully
it sees the light of day.
I'm hoping by the end of the year.
I love Drew, by the way.
And Local Ambition, our season premiere is September 5th. If anyone wants tickets to come out and see it, it's Ronnie's. Also, STL Live is rebooting, and that's going to be September 12th at Soulful Illusions.
Studios, yes. And
I don't have anything going on, and I'm not funny enough, I think, for STL Live.
You are funny enough, Chris. You're always busy. The door is always open for Lindsay.
Come on.
The door is always open for Lindsay.
Cat naming show.
I didn't write it, though. I didn't write it. I just acted it out.
So you're still funny.
That whole thing about actors with different styles.
Yeah.
Nobody understands me. My dry, sarcastic humor, I'll come up with an idea, and everybody at the table is like, yeah, I mean, maybe if we change literally everything but my first two words, then it would be awesome. And I'm like, you don't get it.
No, we still want to do your dog court.
You don't get it.
You had the dog court. You came up with the dog court skit, and then you wrote the skit where the people called you like in the middle of the night or whatever. We're going to do that one. The Zoom call one. Remember that one?
Yes, I'm
yeah.
aware of the Zoom call
Unfortunately,
one.
like the virus hit, and that pretty much
Right. Yeah.
that didn't help us a lot last year.
No.
And that's what happened. I had like 5 projects put on hold, and now they've all just been completed. So now I don't have anything.
Oh, now she's free. Yay.
Yeah, now I'm
All
free.
right.
Yeah.
You are? Oh.
I'm free.
Okay.
All right.
Hit me up.
We need you.
Yeah.
And Vickie, I got your Facebook. Get hold of Lindsay's Facebook. And then just, what do you have working?
Like I said, I have the 2 projects in post, Begin Again and Broken Window. Begin Again has been a challenge, but it's getting there. Yay! And then Broken Window, which Lindsay did a phenomenal job, and I'm so proud of her. She is.
I'll give you
she
one of
did.
these.
Yeah, there you go. And I during this pandemic, it's been good for writers, I guess, because I've written 3 shorts and I've got 2 features started that that I'm actually currently writing on, and so I'm like, okay, tossing the coins. What do we film first? So
what's the genres? Were there?
The genres. Well, the one short is called While You Lay Dying, drama.
Uh-huh.
Then The Key is more of a suspense drama. Then what was the other? I'm drawing a blank on the other. But I'm also writing on a Christmas film, and then I'm writing the one that is the 2 really odd, the kind of quirky couple. Yes, they're fun. I'm developing their characters right now. They're a hoot. So
Sounds awesome.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the podcast. Hopefully, it wasn't too grueling.
No,
for
it was
anyone.
fun. It was fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. You'll come back.
you
right?
didn't scare me, so
That's good. Good. Okay, well, thank you guys for watching.
you.
So, subscribe to the Daily Dare with Dustin Diggs, like the Artist United Network on Facebook, and check out our sponsor, 420brandclothing.com. Pod 420 gets you 50% off a purchase. So, thank you for watching.
thank you.
Go beast.